In 2018, Kawhi Leonard arrived in Toronto after effectively missing all of the previous season, and many people wondered, were his best days already behind him? Or was he getting ready to enter another dimension in his relatively young NBA career? With all these questions and so many uncertainties around Kawhi, the Raptors took a chance on him to see what magic they could make happen, even if it meant for only one season. And with a single, hilariously fun laugh, Kawhi brought the Toronto Raptors to the playoffs with one of the most memorable moments in NBA history, in a Game 7 against the Philadelphia Sixers. And shortly thereafter,
there's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada.
And yet, that was just one phase, one chapter of Kawhi's career, of how a shy guy with a weird laugh became an NBA Hall of Famer. Kawhi Leonard in college was good, but not great. But he was a solid player that was recognized more for his defense than anything else, and he was far from being the dominant offensive force we see today. He wasn't very polished defensively, but as an athlete, he's a really explosive one. So he scored the majority of his points with his basket attacks off the ball. And as someone who is 6'7", he could make use of his size to power through any defense.
Come on, Noah, pickpocketed. This will slam the door.
Well, here's the thing. Kawhi's rise to superstardom was a bit unconventional. He was a guy who couldn't shoot at all in college. He shot just 20% from 3 in his freshman year at San Diego State, and averaged at most 15 points per game in his college career. Just watching him operate on the college stage, it was primarily his tough and tenacious defense that led to transition scoring for Kawhi. And in the half court, Kawhi would hinge on his size and athleticism to penetrate defenses, and really score more with his body than his flick of the wrist. This is just so far from the Kawhi that we know today, where he's using his size and consistent shooting touch to easily get to his favorite spots around the mid-range to pull up for one of the most efficient jumpers in the league today. And now Kawhi is being put in the same conversation with some of the most offensively gifted players in NBA history. Head coach Doc Rivers even put Kawhi in the same light as Michael Jordan from a size and ability standpoint.
He is the most like Jordan that we've seen. Not that he is Jordan or anything like that, but he's the most like him. Big hands, post-game, can finish, great leaper, great defender, in-between game.
Witnessing Kawhi's improvement on a year-in and year-out basis, Kawhi still stands as one of the great season-to-season progressions by a non-lottery pick in NBA history. LeBron, MJ, Kobe, Magic, Shaq, they were high draft picks and were expected to shift the entire culture of a franchise and put them on a winning map. But this quiet, awkward kid from San Diego State, drafted 15th overall, went from not being able to shoot anything outside of 10 feet and averaging just 8 points in his rookie season to winning a Finals MVP at age 22, had likely one of the most underrated careers of a future Hall of Famer. Going back to Tim Duncan's final season in San Antonio, Kawhi was showing why he was soon getting ready to take the mantle, as he began assuming the responsibility of being the best player on a really good team. Now, keep in mind, Kawhi was drafted to a very much alive Spurs dynasty, and he progressed in the shadows of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili, which is why some of his progression might feel so out of the blue and unordinary. And from the 2015 season and Duncan's final year in the NBA, Kawhi's minutes went up, but the more telling stat was his usage rate on the team, which skyrocketed from 25% to 32%, telling you whose team this was. This was truly something no one saw coming. This was a guy getting compared to Shawn Marion and Gerald Wallace coming out of college, to 5 years later entering 2016 as one of the top 5 favorites to win the regular season MVP, even over guys like KD and Steph. But the one drawback of Kawhi's career was one crucial thing: his health. Unfortunately, Kawhi was never the most durable player, and that goes for him today too. And this led to a lot of things later in Kawhi's career. most notably load management. But we'll get to that in a minute. But until this forgetful moment for Spurs fans,
again, that's what they call all the time when you get your feet into the landing space of the shooter.
no one said too much about Kawhi's fragility or expressed any concern over his health long term. And as we all know now, this moment right here was the beginning of the end for Kawhi in San Antonio. He played only 9 games during the 2017 season and didn't think he was healthy, but the Spurs did. Kawhi said he wasn't feeling right, but the Spurs cleared him to play anyway, and Kawhi didn't like that. And then, that was the last of Kawhi in San Antonio. Long story short, Kawhi was at war with his own team the entire season, which is exactly why, just months later, Kawhi was sent to Toronto after requesting to be traded.
Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green going north, and DeMar DeRozan, Jacob Poeltl, and a protected 2019 first-round pick going back to San Antonio.
Despite playing just 9 games and coming off a significant injury, teams, well, didn't care about anything else. They knew just how good he was, and they all wanted him because he could do this.
3-on-2. Kawhi!
This.
Leonard spins. Get out of here!
And a whole lot of this.
Kawhi Leonard on the drive. Going to the hole. Up and in.
Even with only 1 year left on his contract, and with Kawhi's eyes set on LA, the Toronto Raptors still took a chance on Kawhi and hoped that they could convince him to stay, like OKC convinced Paul George to stay 1 more season after his contract was up. And even though it was only 1 season, it was a remarkable, memorable season that made Kawhi a Canadian legend forever.
Leonard makes his move. Oh! That's a man's jam! Over Giannis Antetokounmpo. Gets the 5th shot of the night. Oh, Leonard! Kawhi going up high. Leonard with the steal! And Leonard puts it in.
Statue-worthy? Maybe. But the 2019 season was truly something special for Kawhi and for all of Canada. He firmly established himself once again as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. And this, despite playing only 60 games in the 2019 postseason and NBA Finals, putting up ridiculous averages of 30.2 points per game on 49% shooting from the floor, and began hearing his name in next to the likes of Michael Jordan. Oh, and let's not forget this moment.
It's off to Leonard. Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Which was simply one of the most iconic plays in NBA history. It wasn't just the numbers he was putting up, it was how he was doing it, and how he looked doing it. The defensive stance was like Mike's, the hand size, the off-balance one-leg kick on the mid-range jumpers, the natural upper body strength, and the crafty offensive game that made us think we were watching a prime Michael Jordan in 1993 dancing with a basketball out there. It was really beautiful to watch. After his season with Toronto, where Kawhi only played 60 games for the Raptors due to injuries and load management, his health was still, no doubt, a pretty large concern for some of the teams that were getting ready to make their pitch to him during free agency. There was even a media frenzy that was all focused on whether Kawhi will go to a different team or stay with the Raptors. There were people tracking private jets to see where Kawhi was going, helicopters following Kawhi while he was in a convoy, and even Drake got involved with trying to keep Kawhi in Toronto. Outside of all the media attention, it was really Kawhi's style of play that made teams fall in love with him more so than anything. And when MJ's ex-trainer comes out and makes the comparison, how can we not? After deciding to go back to his hometown and play for the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi's battle with injuries has persisted even until now. See, he missed all of 2022 recovering from a torn ACL and has missed large chunks of last season too. But when he's on the court, he doesn't look much different than he did when he was a 27-year-old MVP in Toronto. And he's even better now compared to his earlier days with the Spurs. Kawhi's putting up nearly 24 points a game on a career-high 42% from 3, although he can only play around 50 games in a season. But look at this game against the Kings last season. He would lead you to believe he's as good as anyone in basketball when he's close to playing at 100%. 44 points on 73% shooting, including 67% from distance. Pair that polished, smooth jump shot with his MJS playstyle and his elite defense, it proves that he's He's truly an amazing player. While load management and constant injuries have fogged our memory of the player Kawhi's been for so long in the NBA, we've seemingly forgotten his unique rise to superstardom and his special capabilities on both sides of the ball that make him one of the rarest packages of talent the league has ever seen. And he did, of course, lead a team to their first ever championship and won the hearts of an entire nation. Don't get it twisted, they still love him up in Toronto, and that championship will always be historic. On any given night, we don't know how long he'll play or if he'll play, but all we know is this: any team can be a title contender with Kawhi in their lineup. With the LA Clippers riding high this season and being among the contenders in the NBA, do you think this is Kawhi's year to add another NBA championship trophy to his legacy? And how will you remember Kawhi when it's all said and done?